Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my December wrap-up. I know that like everyone is saying this in their wrap-ups and end of the year things, but I really just don't even know where 2018 went. 2018 both felt like at times the longest year ever, and also just like it flew by. Like I don't even know what happened the first half of this year. Like my brain has just gotten rid of that, and then the last half of this year just flew by, and I know all the things that happened, but there was so much. And now we're just at the end of the year, and I'm like, what happened? I actually just watched my 2017 book awards for my favorite books from 2017, and I was like, didn't I read those in this year? Like, it's like this year, reading year-wise, and everything just didn't even happen. Speaking of that, all of my end-of-the-year videos are coming up in January. I'm so excited. These are my favorite videos to film and watch. So I have my 2018 book awards coming up, which is my favorite books of the year. I am doing disappointing reads this year, which I've never done in the past. Shocking, I know, because, you know, Queen of Salt over here, but like, I haven't before, so I'm doing that. I'm doing my favorite and least favorite couples videos. I'm doing my 2018 reading wrap-up, like stats and stuff, and how I did all my goals, and also my 2019 goals. I'm doing some bullet journal, spread, flip-throughs. All these things are happening. Also, if you care about me outside of books, I'm doing a bunch of videos on my personal channel as well, as far as all of the goals not related to books, wrapping up for 2018, and then my 2019 goals, and I have a lot of them this year, and I have like all these ways that I'm chronicling them, and just basically, I love goals. And I love this part of the year on YouTube in general. It's my favorite. Join me in the bliss that is like fresh starts and goals and achieving your dreams. You guys came here for the books. I read 3 books in December. I wanted to read more, but I was working overtime leading up to the holidays, so basically all of these books I read just during the holidays when I was home for Christmas. In the 5 days I was home for Christmas, I read all of these books for the most part. First book was The Queens of His Lair by Tessa Gratton. I started this in November for Tome Topple and then finished it in December. This book took me nearly a month to read, but this is a retelling of Shakespeare's King Lear set in a fantasy world, and it follows multiple POVs, but mainly 3 sisters who are King Lear's daughters, and each of their lives as his sanity kind of unravels, and everyone is wondering who of them is going to be the heir to the throne of this magical island. And it's very atmospheric, and the magic is very nature-based, and there's a lot of political intrigue and unusual magic going on. I've done a full review for this one, so I'll link that on the screen. I ultimately gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I still really enjoyed it. I think the fact that it took me so long to read is what didn't help the rating, because it's very dense and it is kind of a slog. And there's not a lot that actually happens action-wise. It's very character-focused, which I still liked, but at one point I just was like, I'm enjoying this, but I just want it to be over. So I feel like there's a lot that could have been trimmed down a bit and you still would have gotten the essence of the story. I really liked the characters and the fact that all of them are very complex. There's no one that you really feel is the good or the bad guy necessarily. They all have their unique motivations. There's also some interesting things done with gender. One of the sisters still uses she pronouns, but she also refers to herself as a king or prince and has very masculine traits as well. So there's some androgynous stuff going on there, and also the relationships between different characters, whether they're romantic or familial or friendship, like all of them just feel very raw and real. This is a standalone, but there's apparently supposed to be some companions. I'm very unsure. After I did my review, some people talked about the fact that there's supposed to be companion novels in this world. But as far as this book, on Goodreads, this is not shown as a book in a series or anything. So you're not going to get more necessarily to this world or these particular characters, and there is a bit of a ambiguous kind of vague ending. So for all those reasons, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Still enjoyable and still something I think you should check out if you like different magic systems that feel very atmospheric and really complex characters, but if you're not into that or you're not into very dense books that might take you a very long time to get through, maybe give this one a pass. I then read The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi, and I read it I think in about 2 days. This book is coming out on January 15th. I've already done a full review and gush on this book, so I'll link my review on the screen for you to check out if you're interested. This is one of my favorite books of 2018, so spoiler for that video. This is also one of the reasons why I am very adamant for myself about not posting any videos or saying what my favorite books of the year are until the year is done, because this wouldn't have gotten included if I would have done my favorites video at the beginning of December. But this takes place in an alternate history 1889 Paris, in which there's kind of magic, kind of technology that's magical going on, and it follows a crew of characters that are involved in a heist around this magical artifact that some secret societies, I know there's a lot going on here, have control over that could affect the world. If you enjoy stories where bands of nerds are doing their best and seeing how they all relate to one another and enjoying like the heist part, but also enjoying the world part and the way that all of the characters are interacting and angsty romance and bisexuality rep and a neurotypical rep, then you'll probably enjoy this. I don't want to get too much into it because I already did a review and I've talked a lot about this and I've gushed a lot about this on Twitter, but I so immensely enjoyed this. I loved the world building. There are a lot of mythology references from different mythologies that are in here which speak to my heart. There's a lot of like underworld mythology stuff because that's also one of Roshni's brands. And the crew of characters are amazing. They've all known each other for a while, so it's not a new crew where they don't all know each other. They're trying to get to know each other. They all know and trust one another for the most part, and there's just a lot going on with them. And like I said, angsty romance. I have not read an angsty romance such as this in quite some time. I have very high hopes for the rest of the series, and I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars, but check out my review for more of my thoughts. Whether they're more coherent or not is debatable. And the last book that I read in 2018, which I was not expecting to be my last book of 2018, is In an Absent Dream by Shauna McGuire. This is also coming out in January, but this is the next book in the Wayward Children series. So the Wayward Children series is about children who have passed through portals into other fantasy worlds and then come back. So throughout the series, you get to see either them and how they're relating to our world again, or their worlds, or going on quests back to their worlds, or whatever. It's portal fantasy worlds, and there is a bunch of books about them, and it's really great. This is about a girl that goes to the Goblin Market, and this story felt a little bit different than the other ones for some reason to me. I love this series, one of my favorite series, and I still really enjoyed this book, but you get a lot more of her interactions with the real world and less of stuff in the fantasy world. You still get stuff in the fantasy world, but a lot of the major action points are not taking place there, and it's a lot more about being sure of yourself. And every one of these books, going on a little bit of a tangent here because I'm kind of thinking this through and why I felt this way as I'm talking about it, which is great. Great job, Sam. Great booktuber. But each one of these books has kind of a different theme and a different lesson to it, which is really fun about these because these are about kind of like fairy tale fantasy, portal fantasy universes, and those kinds of stories tend to have some kind of meaning, theme, telling some kind of lesson, that kind of thing. So it follows that kind of trope of fairy tale type stories. And so each book has that element. And I feel like this lesson was one that didn't speak to me the way that other ones do. So that's what's kind of cool about this series, is that each book is going to mean something a little bit different to each person, which is true of any book, but just specifically for these books because of the lessons that they are imparting. So I didn't love this one as much because I feel like it's a lesson, not that I didn't need to learn, but it's just not one that I felt as strongly as some of the other ones were. I almost feel like the lesson here was kind of this juxtaposition between your own independence and being sure of your own self separately from others, but then also what that means for your responsibility and attachments to others. And that's just not something that spoke to me as much as some of the other lessons from the other stories. This was still enjoyable, but it just felt like it was a little more meandering. It also wasn't attaching to any of the other characters that we've met previously. This is kind of a newish character that we might get to see more of, but the other books were always referencing other characters that you'd seen in previous books, so that might be why it feels like a little bit of a sidestep as well. Overall, I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I still really enjoy this series. I still will continue to read every single one of these books as long as she puts them out, and Shauna McGuire does big series, so hopefully we'll have like 25 of them, and I will still recommend the series to anybody because 3 stars is not a bad rating. It's just an okay rating. Just a good rating, just like a fine rating. So that is it for all the books that I read in December. Comment down below and let me know your favorite book of the end of the month. I hope that it was a great reading month, and I will see you in 2019. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all you guys soon.